So let me start with the brief introduction of our 3.0 was application. So here we go. So it is under the IC15 wire services. We have rolled out India's first global index under crypto's IC15. It tracks the performance of top 15 cryptocurrencies globally based on market capitalization. Crypto enthusiasts and crypto traders can take the informed decisions based on IC15. So next is Wirewatch. Under this Wirewatch section, we can monitor the best crypto exchanges to buy and the best exchanges to sell a particular cryptocurrency. In the center of the screen, we can also monitor the arbitrage opportunity available between the two exchanges for the same cryptocurrencies. So there are more than 350 plus cryptocurrencies listed on our platform along with 70 plus crypto exchanges worldwide. So next is Crypto TV, dedicated to 24/7 crypto and blockchain YouTube channels, and Smart Mobile IPTV, which provide in-depth analysis and awareness of global development, trends reports, discussions, debates, and guidance from international experts. Next is our 3.0 University, being the world's first digital university that caters to all from ABC to PhD knowledge and provide super specialization courses, blockchain, and cryptos. So with this, I would like to welcome our speaker, Mr. Chandan. My name is Deepika, and let me first.
Hi. Hello, Deepika.
Yeah. So he is a digital supply chain and blockchain service lines for Bosch, where he helps create innovative products and solutions to solve critical challenges in supply chain, and also recognized among the top 50 global thought leaders in supply chain, and has published multiple white papers, blogs, and articles. He has been featured in magazines and journals like Data Cost, Efficient Manufacturing, and toolbox.com, etc. Also, he has been panelist and speaker at multiple international conferences and webinars like World Blockchain Conclave, the India Advantages, Microsoft Partner Event, Automotive Aftermarket Supplier Associate, etc. Also, he brings hands-on experience in digital supply chain and logistics process consulting and change management, leveraging design thinking. He also holds expertise in organizational digital transformation by creating innovative business model, identifying new revenue streams, leveraging technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, and IoT. Chandan is also certified in creating blockchain business models from Duke University, supply chain planning and analytics from University, and is a certified Six Sigma Green Belt professional. Okay, so Chandan, I have introduced you, and you can take over the session and share your experiences. Yes.
Sure. Thank you, Deepika.
Thank you so much.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you guys are joining in from. I've got a presentation that I want to bring up. Just give me a minute. Is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay. So yes, thank you again, Deepika, for the very nice introduction. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and talk about topics which are very close to my heart: blockchain, digital transformation. And I took the liberty to put up a small presentation of sorts, which I would like to use as the aid when I am, when I'm presenting my thoughts and ideas around this. Very simply put, I wanted to first talk a little bit about the digital transformation itself. I think there are a lot of definitions that are floating across in the industry about digital transformation. So it may add value to talk a little bit about what digital transformation means. To each is their own, but we'll use one definition that I'm going to talk about today. And for the rest of the presentation, we'll try to always ensure that we go back to that definition for any evaluation, for any use case, for any problem statement that we come across in the process of transformation. We'll also talk a little bit about key consideration for a successful digital transformation. We know for a fact that a lot of digital transformation, in excess of 70-75% of the digital transformations, do not turn out to be exactly as successful as they were hoped to be at the start. And there are some considerations that we can have when we are starting with a digital transformation journey for any organization. The role of innovation in digital transformation, I think that's a very important role. We'll also talk a little bit about what happens when organizations go on a digital transformation journey without keeping innovation at the center of the entire journey. And once we have covered this, maybe we'll also talk a little bit about blockchain-based digital transformation. What does it mean? Where does blockchain come in? And one of the key ways blockchain brings in digital transformation is by creating consortium networks. So we'll also talk about some things that are required for the consortium networks to be created. How do you really go about creating consortium networks? What are some pitfalls that you should avoid in the process of creating these networks? And finally, once we are done with this, we'll also, if time permits, see a few success stories that we have worked upon in the past. These stories will give you a fair idea about how blockchain-based digital transformation can be realized for organizations of all size.
Yes, sure, Chandan. You can continue.
Talking about digital transformation, very simply put, despite all the definitions that we're going to read about it, I would like to define digital transformation in a very simple manner. I'll call it as the process of adopting digital technologies. And there are a series of digital technologies that we have been working on. Blockchain, of course, is one of them, but it's not the extent of it. There are so many other digital technologies. I would say it's the process of adopting these digital technologies to elevate the stakeholder value. See, there is a difference in the word elevate versus increase. There are a lot of things that you can do to increase the stakeholder value, but I'm talking about elevating the stakeholder value, like moving the stakeholder value to a completely new spectrum for themselves. And how do you do this? How do you elevate the stakeholder value? It's by creating better, or in some ways, creating digital products and services. So any product, any use case, any problem statement that you are taking upon yourself as an organization, where you want to call that as a part of your digital transformation journey, make sure that it has to pass these through tests. First, is it making your products and services better, or is it making them more digital than what they are? And you can make the products and services better by basically two means. One is you add more features, or you increase the reach of that product. Even if you have so very simply put, if you are adding more features which are more digital, which will appear to a certain demography of people, of course, that's one way of looking at digital transformation. Alternatively, if you are not doing any massive changes in the product itself, but you are actually increasing the reach of that product. Just to give you a very simple example, if you are coming up with a model which allows, say, real-time leasing of vehicles in the automotive space, it's not the product itself that has changed, it's the reach for the product that has changed, the services model for this product that is being experimented. So any use case that does not improve your product or service, you should not consider that as a part of a digital transformation. And in a way of increasing, creating better products, if it is not elevating the customer or the stakeholder value, you should probably not consider that as a part of your digital transformation journey. There are certain very common myths that we have. First, being digital transformation is a technical or an IT related initiative. There is a very popular saying in the industry: if you do not reimagine or re-engineer the existing process, you will have an inefficient process running at a much larger scale. So it's only going to keep adding more inefficiency in your system if you do not reimagine or re-engineer the existing process. That being said, it very clearly means it's not re-engineering, reimagining is often not a role of the IT team alone. It is not a technology refresh that you should be looking at. It should be looking at how do you make the customers or the end users life better. So typically you will have, instead of say manufacturing tires and selling them in a very asset first kind of a manner, can you look at selling miles instead of tire? That's an example of digital transformation, and these transformations cannot be coming only from the IT team alone. Another myth that we have in the industry is digital transformation equates to digitization, and nothing can be further away from truth than the statement itself. Digital transformation is actually a mix of business model transformation plus re-engineering of the process plus digitization to some extent. If you are still operating on a model, if your process is still operating at a level where you have paper-based documentations, paper-based documents that are being exchanged, yes, you do require digitization. But if you only do digitization for that, that's not digital transformation. You need to completely look at re-engineering the process itself and asking these questions every now and then in the process of what really adds value to the product or services that are being created. Another myth is that all companies should look at digital transformation for growth, and this is also not true. See, digital transformation eventually should lead to elevating stakeholder value, which is going to come from increasing market share or by increasing revenues or profit. If you're operating in a market where you cannot get more of a market share, for example, if you're operating in a market where you already hold 90-95% of the market, digital transformation may not be the best way looking forward. But that is something that I'll say you should always take with a pinch of salt. The market dynamics keep changing. So you should not go with one research that you would have done at some point that digital transformation is not the best way for you to go forward. You should keep experimenting. You should keep looking at the market and the changing trends in the market to see how and when your organization becomes relevant for more the digital transformation itself to happen. Talking a little bit about elevating the stakeholder value versus increasing the stakeholder value. So see, digital automation and digital transformation often go hand in hand. What I've tried to explain with this graph that you see on the right hand side is that digital transformation is the one that helps you take that big leap from the value creation process that you are in today to the next one. However, digital automation can help you have those continuous improvements or continuous increase in the stakeholder value that you do. So essentially, if both these things are done hand in hand, they are always going to help create a lot of value for the customer. Also, like I rightly said, in the previous statement, that not all companies need digital transformation. So if you're operating at a level where your automation itself is at very low, all right, you do not have the hygiene aspects of bringing about digitization, then you should not embark on the journey of digitization to start with. You should actually embark on the journey of creating that digital automation processes, creating that hygiene factors for IT enablement to ensure that your organization is equipped to take that big leap of digital transformation. And I'll explain this with a very short story, and we'll be referring to this story at multiple points during the presentation. And I'm not going to give you the answer to this story, and I'm sure once we finish this presentation, you'll have the answers for yourself. So this is a story about a kingdom many years ago, and that was the time when animals could also talk. So one of the donkeys went to their managers and told to his manager that there's a lot of load that I need to carry, and that's something that's making me extremely unhappy. And there's something that the organization should do, care about their employees and ensure that my load gets reduced. The manager was very empathetic. The manager listened to the donkey and said that, yes, I'll immediately put forward a team that's going to find a solution to solve this problem for you. The team was formed. The team came up with a solution, and they said there should be a load support system to lift the load for the donkey. The donkey, in essence, should only be giving the direction where the load has to be moved, and the load support system ideally should be taking up all the load that the donkey has to move. The manager said that sounds like a very good solution to go forward with. Let's go ahead and create this load support system. Accordingly, another team was brought in. The load support system was established, and as a part of 360-degree feedback, the manager again went back to the donkey, and this time he took a survey questionnaire with him and asked the donkey, does the load support system lift the load for you? The donkey said yes. Then the manager asked again, did you even touch the load even once ever since this load support system was established by yourself? The donkey said, no, I never touched the load. Manager said, that's good. And then the manager asked the third question, did you ever move the load on your back ever since the load support system was implemented for you? The donkey said, no, I have never had that load put on my back ever since that load support system was established or implemented. The manager was very happy. He took this report, went to his leadership team, the leadership team, which was the king at that point. So the king got very happy that yes, the folks in his kingdom are caring for each other. The king went into a confluence or a conference where a lot of other kings came in. The king spoke about this project. All the other kings applauded. There were rewards and awards that were given to the king and subsequently to the manager for creating the support system. However, very soon, when the donkey was asked again that we created this load support system, you have been the idea behind this entire success that the kingdom has had. How do you feel? The donkey was still very unhappy, and I'll tell you why. This is how the load support system was implemented. Just go back to the survey questions and see for yourself. All the answers from the donkey side were actually true. Is the donkey touching the load? No. Uh, does the load support system lift the load? Yes, the load support system lifts the load. Uh, has the donkey carried the load on its back after the implementation of load support system? The answer is no. The donkey did not carry it. It's the load support system that was carrying this load. Unfortunately, the load support system and the load itself were both put on the donkey. Therefore, the overall load for the donkey increased. And where do you think this entire load support system process went wrong? We'll not answer this now. We'll go through the subsequent slides and think for yourself, where exactly did the systems go wrong? Just to let you know, on a side note, this image that you see is actually an AI generated image from Crayon. You can just enter some text and create these images for yourself, just letting you know. Now, some of the key considerations for digital transformation to work. First and foremost, transformation begins with a mindset. Technology is incidental, whether it is blockchain, whether it is AI, whether it is a data-led approach, or any other technology for that matter. It's the mindset that it begins with, and that's where change management becomes very important. The organization and the leadership in that organization has to first think about transforming the way the businesses are done, transforming the way they approach solving problem in the organization itself. Nothing, especially around digital transformation, works without the executive commitment. Digital transformations cannot be bottom up, they have to be top down. But that being said, they also don't have to be as disconnected as the previous example. While there is an absolute requirement for the executive commitment to be brought in, the problem statements that are identified as a part of digital transformation have to be very grounded. They have to be coming from the grounds up process as well. You should always keep the customer experience at the center. Anything, and this again ties back to the fact that if it does not improve your product or service, just drop it. It's not worth doing. The digital transformation itself is not worth all the pain that you're going to go through. So keep customer experience at the center. You do not want to have a state of art solution which nobody in your customer is okay to implement or okay to use. So the customer experience has to be at the center. Identify change agent and change catalyst, and these are two very different sets of people. Sometimes they may be same, but in most cases they are two different sets of people. Change agents are the people who are from your organization. These are the people who are going to lead change. They are the change champions. They are the ones who are going to go and talk to the rest of your employees about how great this this new digital wave that your organization is riding on gonna be. Change catalysts are the people who and we know how catalysts operate, right? They are not a part of the transaction or not a part of the chemical equation. They just facilitate the chemical reaction. So change catalysts are the people who do not necessarily get involved in the change process, but they're the ones who facilitate this. Often these can be consultants or they can be people from within the organization as well, but their job is to educate the change agents. Their job is to educate the other parts, other people in various departments about the change that's going to happen. Remember, these are the people who do not participate in the change themselves. They just facilitate the change like a catalyst would do in a chemical reaction. Empower, encourage, and promote a culture of change. And this is probably one of the most important things. Most of the digital transformations fail because the change culture itself could not be imbibed. Often people believe that new technologies, new solutions that are coming in are actually a burden on their day-to-day jobs. They end up thinking that whatever that beta period is when they are probably using both these applications, it's then that they realize that they're actually doing double the work because of this transformation. At some point, yes, you do not always have a very clear cutover. You have periods where overlaps happen between projects. In those cases, it's only the culture of change that's going to keep people motivated. It's especially during these testing times that people would realize that if I can help get this new system built, I can actually get rid of a lot of problems that my old systems have. And the other way of looking at it is there's a new system that has come in, plus there's an old system that I already have to work in. It requires me to now put in double the time and energy just to get through. Something that's being driven in the organization as a part of digital transformation. Stakeholder mapping and communication plan. Every stakeholder in the organization should be treated separately. You can actually have classification for these stakeholders, and accordingly, a communication plan should be sent in. There should be a mix of communication plans that are sent in. There should, of course, be a unified communication plan that is sent in, but for every stakeholder, there should be a next level of communication plan also that is communicated. So typically, it should include statements like what it means to you as a tester, what does it mean to you as a user of the system, what does it mean to you as a bystander. So you should have a proper stakeholder mapping that you should be doing, and then create a communication plan depending on the stakeholders that you've identified. Other important thing, and especially when we are in the process of digital transformation, is to measure displacement and not distance. Often digital transformation in its process creates a lot of work, but not all work leads to results. You have to very prudently identify what is it that is keeping the people just busy versus what is it that is keeping the people busy but is going to lead to an outcome. So we know how displacement and distance are different. So the net movement is what you want to care about. You do not want to move how you do not want to be bogged down by too much work that's only keeping your employees busy. Encourage candor and openness. If you go back to the same old story that we had spoken about for that kingdom, if there was enough candor and openness when the support load support system was being installed, the donkey would have gone and told the manager that, hey, this is a great solution, but look what it does to me. And that candor or that continuous evaluation would have exposed the problems that this load support system was creating. Define and formalize a value distribution strategy, and this cannot be stressed more, especially when we are talking about blockchain based digital transformation. Blockchain based digital transformations rely on the fact that there are going to be multiple people in the ecosystem who will come in and and share data, exchange data with each other. Unless you have a proper value distribution strategy created, you will not have any
Just
consortiums that last.
excuse me, Chandan. Just
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you, but your PPT is not visible due to some technical issue. So just can you try
is
to
it?
share it again? Yes, right now
I
it
will.
is.
I will.
Yes, now it is
Okay,
visible. Thank you so much.
sure. So I was on point nine. That's to define and formalize value distribution strategy. Unless you have come up with a proper governance model, unless you have come up with a proper value distribution strategy for all the stakeholders in your ecosystem, your consortiums, no matter how excited you are to start with that consortium, it's never going to last. Other important thing is identify skill gaps and develop gap fill strategy. See, digital transformation does require adoption of new age digital technologies. Not everybody in your organization will be at a level where they can appreciate this transformation exercise. You need to identify those people and see, having a skill gap between people should not be considered as a derogatory thing. It's very common. You should actually just encourage people to take more and more of these gap fill and skill gap analysis exercises, so that these things get highlighted and you can take corrective actions to have those gap fills, have your gap fill strategy created. And one very important thing, often it is missed when we are talking about digital transformation, is to create a enterprise data strategy. Nothing in the digital world is going to operate without data. often this becomes an afterthought. You have a set of 10, 12, 15 such use cases or such projects that are going to be running in the organization, and we'll see why we should do that also. But once those projects or use cases reach a particular level of maturity, that's when people start talking about, okay, how do these products or solutions start talking to each other. And that's to my belief is a very late is a time which is too late for you to talk about the data strategy is something that you want to define at the very start. No transformation can happen without data. So that data is going to be there. You are creating solutions and systems that require data to be captured, to be displayed, to be shared. Have that data strategy in order before you even embark on your journey of digital transformation. Again, this is a quote from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. So, digital transformation is one way organizations can show their response to the change that is happening in the typical VUCA world that we see. And one way organizations can do that is to have the innovation led culture or the innovation led ecosystem growth. How I see this as innovation is actually a survival technique. Sooner or later, there is going to be a company or there is going to be a solution that is going to come and make your organization redundant. The only way to avoid this, only way to survive in these VUCA world situations is to have an innovation mindset. Why do we even need to innovate? I just said, the VUCA world keeps changing the market dynamics very quickly, and very soon, without innovation, you are going to be replaced. The problem with innovation is, and this is a very common problem that we often see, that you want people that you're going to hear people talk about innovation and then say, what is the ROI? The ROI, of course, it's an important exercise, but we also have to understand that there would be no ROI benchmarks that you can look into because you're doing something that has never been done before. So when you're approaching innovation, you have to look at the NPVs of these investments that you make. You need to look at the rate of returns for these investments, but do not try to find a benchmark for these kind of results. You also have to understand that out of 10 of 20, 30, 40 projects that you take as a part of innovation, only 8 or 10% of them are going to really make something big for you. Sometimes it does not need to be that many. It can be just one idea that can really define your organization for the next 5 to 10 years. So you need to be accepting of the fact that not everything that you invest in is going to give you results. You have to be looking at innovation as bets that you're putting on a few ideas, hoping that at least one or two of them are going to click and make them big. Another big question that I often get when we are supporting organizations with their digital transformation journey is they understand the importance of innovation. And the next big question is, who should lead innovation? Should it be somebody from within the organization? Should it be somebody from outside the organization? Should it always be the leadership, somebody in the leadership? Should it probably be somebody grounds up who is young, has a very startup mentality to get things done very quick and dirty? And my answer to this is innovation should not be led by an individual. I'll explain this with a little bit of reference to mindsets. So I often define mindset as two different types. Of course, there could be so many others, but two broad categories of mindsets. One is the artistic mindset, the artistic bend of mind. Now, these are the people who want to create masterpieces. These are the people who want to create something that for the next decade people are just going to look at and be amazed and confused at the same time. How could somebody do this? And then there are people who come from an engineering bend of mind. Now these are the people what do engineering or scientists do? They do experiments, and the experiments have got something very common. You call an experiment successful if you can replicate the results with the same thing. So these people have got replicability in their mind to a very good extent. They of course want new things, but they don't wait for masterpieces. They want to take something and see if there is a success that they can achieve, and then they want to replicate this success to a lot of other customers or to a lot of other products or features. Now the thing is, while innovation can be led by anybody, it has to be the candor in the team that drives innovation. So in a way, there's nobody is going to lead innovation. uh, I mean, for a nominal head, you could put somebody there. But you need a mix of people who come from the artistic as well as the scientific bend of mind, so that there is always this positive tussle between the two teams to make the products more and more realistic and ensure that you stick to the timelines. See, it could take years to create a painting like Mona Lisa. I know the value of Mona Lisa is something that you can never compare to anything else in this world, but it takes years to do that. For somebody who comes from a scientific bend of mind, he would say that let's have multiple paintings and look at multiple customers who we can sell these paintings to, and in the process of doing this, we will probably stumble across something or come across something that will be as good as a state of art or a piece of art that is relished for a very long time. How do you measure innovation in the first place? So innovation itself is measured in terms of bets and the expected outcome that you receive as a result of this innovation process to the kind of investments that you're making. So like I said, NPVs, IRRs are definitely important considerations that you should have for innovation, but don't rely too much on measuring innovation. The moment you put too strong measurements around innovation, you kind of curb the innovative spirit of your employees. So don't put too strong measurement units. But again, you at some point need to take those difficult calls on which projects to pull the plug on. For those cases, you need to ensure that there's a times gap that has been identified, goals have been identified, and you measure innovations on those goals that have been predefined or pre-agreed on by both parties. All those things said and done, one very important thing is you do not want to start digital transformation as one big movement. You want to start them as bite-sized transformation stories. So these are going to be small set of use cases, small set of projects that you want to start with, and build them all together to create that digital transformation story. So it's very important that when you're creating these bite-sized transformation stories, you keep the big picture of digital transformation that you have in your mind. Now, this is how, of course, this is not a prescriptive way of doing a blockchain-based digital transformation, but this is one point of view that I have around which blockchain-based digital transformations can be built. You, of course, want to start with the as-is evaluation process, where you identify what is the current way you are doing things. This is a place where you identify use cases. You also identify, the future state that you want to be in. For example, if I'm talking about say circular economy, the as-is analysis is going to be the fact that the supply chains today are extremely linear, and the future state for this could be how do you ensure that the product reaches the starting point of your linear supply chain once it has reached its end of life. So that's going to be the future state where you talk about circularization for this particular example. Then the next step, once you've identified the future state and the as state, you want to do the impact analysis. It's the time versus cost of change. Impact versus time versus cost of change. So this is a 3x3 matrix that you want to create. Something that has got very high impact is probably rated very low in time required for this change to be brought about, or the cost required for this change to be brought about. Those are the ones that you want to take up immediately. If there is something that has low impact, uh, requires a lot of time and cost, you probably want to just let them go off. So even if you are having multiple use cases, you have to do this analysis to identify those one or two or three use cases that you want to take immediately. Others, you can of course have a roadmap for them to be taken up. Out of these use cases, identify lighthouse projects. These use cases that I've just spoken about become your lighthouse project. And these lighthouse projects is something that you need to encourage people to talk more about. Your change agents, your change catalysts should be talking about lighthouse projects within your organization at all possible instances. They have to show extreme excitement, extreme energy when they talk about these lighthouse projects. Once you have identified these lighthouse projects, you want to now look at determining the ecosystem players that are required for this projects to be successful. If I again go back to the example of building circular economy, you want to have your suppliers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers as one member of the ecosystem. You as an OEM, automotive OEM, will be the other member in the ecosystem. You will want to have your distributors, your customers in your ecosystem, because you want to ensure that the product reaches the right person in the supply chain. Once it has reached its end of life, you want to have the scrapyard owners or the people who deal with the product at its end of life also to be included as a part of this ecosystem. So this is a point where you define this ecosystem players, and when you're doing that, you should immediately have those contracts or those agreements signed between them to participate in that, in the use case. Now, one way that this is going to happen is, again, if you create the value definition for everybody, and you identify the value distribution strategy as well. At this point, you identify who is going to give what data in for this use case to succeed, and what is the value that this data could generate in the entire scheme of things for this particular use case. And once you have established that, often you want to have a dollar value associated to that, and that is going to be the value distribution strategy. Now, let me also explain that value distribution strategy does not mean that you're now exchanging value. You're not paying anybody anything. It's only a strategy which defines that tomorrow, if a dollar is made as a result of this, this is how that dollar is going to be distributed between various people. And likewise, the cost for having that use case also implemented will be distributed between various stakeholders as well. So it's a more collective process of creating value and distributing value as well. And finally, always be evaluating whatever you have done and coming up with course correction strategies. There is no solution that has come out as perfect in the first go, and I would actually go ahead and talk to an extent that there is no solution that is perfect ever. There's always scope for improvement. You need to continuously evaluate your product, and evaluation does not come only from the technology team. It comes from the customers, technology teams, bystanders, users of your solutions, non-users of your solutions, all of them. And you need to understand what is it that is stopping the non-users to use, what is it that is stopping the users to use more of your application, what is it that is stopping your technology team to deliver more with what they have for that particular product. So you need to be continuously evaluating the solution of this product and coming up with course correction strategies as and when possible. Talking about blockchain based digital transformation, there are some very specific reasons why an organization should look at blockchain based digital transformation. And if of course these are not exhaustive list of reasons, but if by somehow your organization does not happen to receive any of these benefits that I've spoken about here, you may not want to consider blockchain based digital transformation. The first one is, sometimes organizations would have an ecosystem growth and collaborative mindset, and it's the question of trying to increase the size of the pie rather than increasing the share of the pie. If that's what you're going for, then you need to help your ecosystem grow as well. And in those cases, blockchain-based digital transformation is a wonderful idea. There is a lot of shared process that happens in your ecosystem, in your line of business, and which does require a lot of people to come in and or it does require a lot of human intervention to come in and provide that approvals or build that trust in the system. Case in point, say an insurance business where there is a process where somebody has to come in, literally look at the claims, approve that. In those kind of cases, there is a very good scope for you to identify these shared processes between ecosystems, between the members of the ecosystem. And in certain cases, there could be competing objectives as well to help create the automation in these shared processes. If that's what you're looking at, a blockchain-based digital transformation is a very good answer. If you're also looking at data democratization, if you're scared that there's too much data that is getting concentrated with one person in your ecosystem, and you would want to have a more democratized model for ecosystem, that's also one way of that's also a good reason for you to look into blockchain based digital transformation. Cost savings for an ecosystem in general. Today, if X dollars are required for the product, it's the landed cost for that product, and you want to ensure that this is reduced to some extent, you want to look at collaboration in an ecosystem, and that's where blockchain based digital transformation could also help. And finally, security and of data and information. In case if you're already in a process of sharing a lot of data with your ecosystem partners, and you would like it to be more secure, more cryptographically secured, this is also a good place for you to start and explore blockchain-based digital transformation. Like I mentioned, most or a lot of blockchain based digital transformation typically start as a consortium. So these are some steps that I've just listed. I'm not sure how we are doing on time. The consortiums are the most common way in which blockchain led transformations happen. So this is one way you can start looking at consortium. Of course, you start with the discovery phase, and most of these things are going to happen once you have identified those lighthouse projects, and you have already onboarded some of your ecosystem players who are going to be part of this consortium. So you do that concept ideation stage, use case discovery stage. You want to do a proof of concept to start with. From a proof of concept, you want to move to a pilot implementation, and this is a good point for your team to sign those NDAs or participation agreements, because the proof of concept has already been implemented. They have now got a very good idea or a very clear idea about what a particular use case can yield for them. So now this is a good time for you to have those agreements, etc., sorted with them. And immediately after that, you want to have a pilot run for this project. Just understand that there is a very uh, strong difference between a POC versus a pilot. A pilot is actually a near production solution. You're just reducing the number of people who are going to use this, or reducing it by the number of participants who are involved in this process. So it's you start with a pilot run. Just make sure that everything that has been learned up to this point does not requires whatever course correction is required is made up to this point. So pilot business evaluation becomes a very important point for you to consider. And once you've done this pilot, that's where the actual consortium development happens. Because consortium development is also often a legal, also has a legal aspect associated to this. So you want to have a full dedicated good amount of time spent on the consortium design itself. You need to have a very clearly defined business model which everybody in your ecosystem agrees to. You need to have a governance model. We have already seen some good consortiums with very promising consortiums fail because the governance models that were set out were not very appealing to to most of the people. When I talk about governance model, I essentially mean how do you onboard new people, what happens if somebody leaves the network, because attrition is always given when you're creating a consortium. It's one of the systemic risks that we operate with. So how do you onboard new people? How do you what happens when somebody leaves the ecosystem? What is the total number of people that should be added? What type of members do you want to add? All those things have to be laid out by in the governance model. Typically people would look at having a steering committee or the consortium steering committee typically to take these decisions, which will have representatives from all the key ecosystem players who are a part of this. And that's when you get into the consortium launch operation and scaling operations. Governance model also dictates who is going to bear what percentage of the operating cost for the entire ecosystem to work. And often people leave consortiums saying that it's not really adding enough value for them to continue putting in that many dollars or that many rupees to be a part of that consortium. And these are challenges that are going to happen if the governance models are not laid out properly, and if you do not follow a model where the value distribution strategy and the cost distribution strategy has been agreed well in advance between all the ecosystem players. Like I said, I'm going to talk about two stories from the blockchain world where transformation has helped. One is for a leading tire manufacturer globally, and they wanted to move away from the model of selling tire as an asset. They wanted to sell tire as a service. So instead of people having to shell out that dollar value to buy the tire in the first place and then use it and amortize it over a period of time, they wanted to charge their customers based on the kilometers that the vehicle has run. So what this does require is ensuring high asset availability. If your tire is flat, you want to ensure that the tire is immediately fixed so that the vehicle can keep running, because you only get money when the vehicle runs. You want to ensure that the operating conditions are right. You do not want that somebody is abusing the tire way too much beyond the acceptable limit. So all these things are essentially that required data to come in from multiple ecosystem partners, and accordingly, they were looking at having a consortium of sorts created where ecosystem partners could keep contributing this data, and the entire tire as a service can be established, where the customer gets the entire month bill or the quarter bill, depending on the choice that the customer has made, purely completely automated through a smart contract. Another example is circularizing the automotive supply chain. So another challenge that we have in the automotive supply chain, or in the supply chains today, when we talk about circularization, is that there's no incentive for the last people in the supply chain to actually be a part of a circular economy. I mean, and don't get me wrong, of course some people are motivated by the sustainability aspect of this, but for some others it does require a little more concrete offering, or a little more short term offering to be made, so that they can be a part of this the circular economy initiative. We typically call this as a token based incentivization that can be brought in, and right from the point where the product is put into the supply chain, you want to start tracking that product from that point. And when the product is being put into the supply chain, immediately the person is putting that product is also going to pledge a few tokens for this particular product. And what it essentially means is, if this product comes back at its end of life to that person who has pledged, the person is obligated to pay that many tokens the uh, to the person who is last in the supply chain, to support the circular economy. So these are typically micropayments, and blockchain happens to be one of the easiest way to create these micropayment solutions. And especially in the automotive space, where there is not one part that has to go to one person. A typical IC engine car would have somewhere around 7 to 8,000 parts. Some of them can be recycled, some of them have to be can be refurbished. So the complexity just keeps multiplying multifold. Um, so for all those type of products where different people are in the supply chain are going to pledge different amount for different products, and it could be different people in the at the end of the supply chain who will be giving these products back. So it becomes easier when you have a solution like blockchain that allows these micropayment settlements to happen at a pace which is faster than the regular payment modes that we have today. So these are some success stories from the industry where people are looking at blockchain-based digital transformation. And don't get me wrong, these projects did not start as a pure blockchain-based transformation in itself. The lighthouse projects were around IoT and data analytics, etc. We at Bosch believe that it's not just one solution, one technology that's going to solve the digital transformation uh, problems in the industry. It's going to be a series of, or a mix of these technologies. So these lighthouse projects would have been around iotization of the tire itself, or in circular economy it could have been around tracking of those assets themselves. And then as you start building on these lighthouse projects, you get to a point where these become transformation stories for blockchain and digital transformation. That's all I had from my side for today. I'm absolutely open to questions. This is my LinkedIn profile. You can feel free to connect with me over LinkedIn as well. I'll be more than happy to answer questions there too. But if there are any questions that you have at this point, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chandan. That was a great presentation. I would just request you to post your LinkedIn ID in the chat box. And I just have two questions from our viewers.
Yeah.
So the very first one is, how secure is blockchain? So can you please answer this question?
It's a good question. If I say blockchain is absolutely hack free, I would be fooling myself. And see, any technology, if enough number of people want it to fail, will always fail. Blockchain uses state of art cryptographic techniques which make it extremely difficult to hack into. It uses distributed architectures. It has got consensus mechanisms which make it very difficult to hack into all the systems, or significant number of systems. But at the end of the day, there are so the technology itself is, while it's difficult to hack, and it does provide the state of art solutions to ensure that there is no hacking that is possible. The data capturing itself could sometimes be hacked, right? At the end of the day, what you feed into blockchain is going to stay there uh, forever. It's an immutable ledger. So garbage in, garbage out. So if there are attacks that are made uh, at in the at the level of data capturing itself, sometimes you see situations where blockchain networks have also been compromised.
Yes, correct. That is the, and the next question would be, what benefit does blockchain offers over security?
See, blockchain, like I said, it uses a distributed, decentralized mechanism for data management. So, and there are very strong consensus mechanisms that are being built. Of course, see, security does add a little bit of problem on the performance itself, right? Without blockchain, also, if every time you are asked to swipe your card before you enter some place, it's actually delaying the process of you entering that place, also, right? So, but that's an enhanced security that is required. So similarly, blockchain has got mechanisms which protect it from being hacked, be it consensus, be it distributed model, be it the state of art encryption techniques that it uses, the ECC encryption techniques, etc. So it's strong that ways. What it does on the flip side is, it sometimes for public blockchain network, it becomes a little bit of defining factor in terms of transactions per second that can be carried on. But experiments are being made. There are consensus mechanisms that are coming out often now. We Ethereum itself moved to POS consensus mechanisms. Similarly, I'm sure in times to come, better consensus mechanisms will be coming in, and all those put together will make sure that blockchain is probably one of the most secure ways you can store data today. But again, it's like I said, if I say that it's something that can never be hacked, I'll be only fooling myself.
Yes,
Any
correct.
technology, I mean, for that matter, it's ultimately humans have made the technologies. If you want it to fail, it will fail.
Yes, correct, Chandan. And thank you for sharing your views. And well, just I would like to thank you for taking out time and sharing views on today's topic. And also our viewers and audience who have shared also their views. So that's all for today. And I'll just thank you for attending the webinar. And we will now be meeting all of you in the next webinar.